red thing. He figures out that if you sail, you pick up winds that blow from the east to the west, the westerlies. And if you sail north, you pick up winds in the other direction. Christopher Columbus becomes the first European to survive a hurricane, and he lands, we think, in San Salvador. Now, native people that Christopher Columbus meets. Well, they're very friendly. They've never seen a European before. He's never seen native peoples before. He makes a total of 4 trips from Spain to the Americas, trying to prove that he has found a new route to Asia. Not even close. Now, here's a little bit of the people that Columbus comes into contact with in 1492 in the island of San Salvador. By the way, this is the Spanish name for the island, named by Columbus. He calls these native peoples, ready for this? I'm glad you're all sitting down, Indians, because he believes that he has found a route to India. Now just think, being the weird mind that I have, what if he'd been going to China? Would these have been Chinese? Could be. Okay. Well, what happens? By the way, there is a individual aboard Columbus's first voyage, a guy by the name of Amerigo Vespucci, who, is listening to Columbus, and he said, "Oh, I found a route," and Vespucci goes, "Nope, you haven't." So what happens? Well, what happens is that Vespucci sails back to Europe with Columbus. Oh, by the way, Columbus brings some of the native people with him back to Europe for King and Queen Ferdinand and Isabella. Anyway, Vespucci basically convinces people that no, Columbus has not found a route to Asia, he's found something else. And Vespucci will be one of the first Europeans to basically map the western edge or eastern edge of South America. Now, here's a little bit of trivia that I was sharing about. Some years after Vespucci has done his voyages and his map making and all this kind of stuff, there is a German binder making books that's putting all of Vespucci's maps together in a volume. And he comes up with an idea. What are we going to call this new land? And I kid you not, I'm not making this up. This is how this whole area becomes known as America, named after Amerigo Vespucci. Hey, we could be North and South Vespucci land. Nah. Okay. Well, I might as well, let me go back here a little bit. Sorry. One of the things, if you don't know history, you don't know history. One of the things that Columbus did not know about, even though I'm sure that if he had looked in the right book, he would have gone, okay, that the Vikings had actually settled in what is now Newfoundland in the year 1000. Now, they had a village, but due to climate change, it didn't go much of anything. But yet the Vikings had been here in North America. Okay, well, anyway, what Columbus has found is soon kind of gone, no, Columbus, you're wrong. It's not India, it's something else. This sets off a feeding frenzy between, well, initially the Spanish and the Portuguese, and ultimately the English and the French. Now, the Spanish put forward an idea that, hey, we found this new territory, the Americas, we're going to claim it for Spain. Well, it doesn't quite work that way. The Portuguese object. So there is a treaty, Pope, I don't remember, I don't care, basically divides the world between the Spanish and the Portuguese. Everything west of the line belongs to Spain, everything east of the line belongs to Portugal. Does it say anything about the French and British? This is why in Brazil, the language that people in Brazil speak is Portuguese. Okay, well, as I think I remember talking to you on Tuesday, maybe, the Native American peoples, there was not a lot of intermixture. There was some, but not a whole lot. So what happens is that the Spanish, and well, the other Europeans, but initially the Spanish, when they come to the Americas, they bring with them European diseases. And typhus, smallpox, wipes out almost 90% of the native populations in the Caribbean. Okay, this is the dividing line, 1494, excuse me, that Portugal gets a portion of South America. This is what Brazil is going to be. Okay, well, Spanish. You can basically say this for any European nation. First people that come are the explorers. This is Spanish, this is the conquistadores, the conquerors, the missionaries, because we have to convert the native peoples to the one true religion, and permanent settlement. And we have the creation of an official European colony. Now, the Spanish basically, when they moved into the Caribbean and then later moved into, well, the southern part of North America and into Central America and into parts of South America, the three G's: glory, God, and gold. Actually, well, it's not the words three, I'm sorry. Actually, cutting to the chase, it's gold, gold, and gold. And of course, during this period of time in world history, we have a fight between the various Protestant religions and the Catholic Church to see how many people each of these religions can convert. You know, they're looking for a head count. Okay, well, problem. The problem is that the natives, whether they're in the Caribbean or whether they're in mainland America, are dying of European diseases or running away. So the Portuguese start first, followed by the Spanish, importing slaves from Africa. Sugar plantations, the island of Hispaniola, in case you don't speak Spanish. This means Spanish island. In the Caribbean today, it is the island of Haiti and Santo Domingo. Okay, so here we go. The movement by the Spanish of exploration. Okay, now, of course, Roman Catholic Church comes with the Spanish. And the ecomedias that the Spanish create, basically, they're large land holdings governed by the Spanish, by the Spanish crown, the king, and they are basically using the natives until the natives are gone. Now, Bartholomew de las Casas, he is becomes a monk, a Dominican friar, and basically starts raising the objections to how the Spanish are destroying the native peoples. Okay, Cortez, Hernando Cortez, a conquistador, conqueror, actually arrives along the eastern coast of what is now Central America. And Cortez, through his actions, helps to destroy the Aztec civilization. Portugal and Brazil, some women played a role. Malazan. Interesting thing, when Cortez arrives on the eastern coast of Central America, he starts telling the natives he runs into, because he has an interpreter, that, okay, these Aztecs have done horrible things. You rise up with us. We'll overthrow the Aztecs, and we'll be sure you get your land back. Wink, wink, nod, nod, ain't gonna happen. And of course, unfortunately, one of the downsides is that diseases help to destroy the native population. Okay. Created the Departamento, basically slavery. Okay, here is a word. Do I have this? Okay. This is kind of, sort of, maybe important. Mercantilist. In Europe, during this period of time, this is going to be something that's going to be practiced by the Spanish, by the French, by the Portuguese, and by the English. The idea is what's called mercantilism. The idea is that if you wanted your nation to prosper, European nation to prosper, you created colonies in the Americas. Okay? Now, the colonies that you created in the Americas would provide for you raw material, which would go to the mother country, would be made into finished things and sold back to the colonies. That's mercantilism. Of course, Europeans would settle in the colonies too. Basically, the Spanish have control, at least in theory, of most of the southwestern United States, Mexico, Central America, a good portion of the western part of South America. The Portuguese, of course, Brazil. Okay. The idea of the Spanish missionaries, Franciscans, were to convert the native peoples to the one true religion, Catholicism. Now, native peoples soon figured out why the Spanish are here. They're looking for gold. So, when the Spanish explorers, especially in the Southwest, ran into a native village, the normal comment was, "Oh, no, gold elsewhere." So the Spanish would go someplace else. Now, what is interesting is that this was exactly the same thing that were used by the native peoples in South America. No comment. Okay, well, France. New colonies, 1500s. Jacques Cartier explored the St. Lawrence River. Now, there's something you haven't heard about. The French Protestants, the Huguenots, settled or attempted to settle in Florida. This is Fort Caroline in Florida, 1564. Now, everything was great until the Spanish settled St. Augustine in 1565. Spanish are Catholic, the French are Protestants. So the French Huguenots are driven out of Florida, and then France basically focuses on settling along the St. Lawrence River in Canada. And the Spanish go ahead and they're going to build Epcot Center and Disney World and everything. Yeah. By the way, if you have a chance, go to St. Augustine, Florida. It is the oldest continually settled European residence in America. They have a fort that was built there. Really kind of interesting if you're into it. Okay, Verrazano explored the coast from Maine to the Carolinas. Cartier voyages to establish colonies along the St. Lawrence River, established the colonies of Quebec City and Montreal. Now, what is happening? No, I might as well bore you to death with this. The French and the Spanish, their colonies in the Americas are controlled by the kings of their various countries. He has direct control, more or less, on what is going to happen in these countries. Okay, when the British settled in North America, Jamestown, James I. Yeah, he's the guy that contributed some money toward the Jamestown colony, but he does not have direct control of the colony. So the 13 British colonies will, at least initially, not be controlled by the King of England. All right. Indian village of Potomac, towns, basically, the thing is, and this is one of the unfortunate situations, and this is one of my hot button issues, is that Europeans are coming to the Americas and they are looking at the native cultures and are going, oh gosh, Now remember, the natives in the Americas are still living in the Stone Age. When Pizarro overthrew the Aztecs, he was absolutely shocked by the architecture that the Aztecs created. It was much, much better than anything that was in Europe. And these backward people, yeah. Okay, in case you're interested, don't memorize it. Native Americans went from America to Europe. They were either slaves or curiosities. The thing is that the native peoples soon figured out why the Europeans are here. Now, unfortunately, for the natives in America, they are groups of people. There is no unifying control over everybody, as there is in Spain or Portugal or France or England. Okay. Well, one of the things that happens in Europe is that there are a lot of wars. And one of the things that, we're dealing with sea powers here, that nations will give private individuals authorization to go out and raid enemy shipping and cities. They're called privateers. Now, that's the good news. After the war is over, many of these privateers are going, hey, we're making money, let's become pirates. Alrighty. Well, now, I honestly, and this is the PowerPoint that was supplied to me by the author of the textbook, which I really don't like all that much. If I were going to do it, it'd be significantly different. A whole bunch of things going on. Queen Elizabeth I is head of England. The people in the powers in England, looking at what the Spanish are doing, are talking to Elizabeth about, hey, let's create our own colony in the Americas. So the first colony created by the British in North America is Roanoke. In about 1585. Now, colony fails. Okay, guys, this is what we'll start on Tuesday.